Thank you, Lord, for you are truly my Father and protector. Allow my heart to heal, forgive, and grow. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. And that's why I was, at that moment, that's what I was writing.
Let's stop for a second.
Yeah, but
I see you choking up a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
So what? Yeah, you are good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Emotion is not a bad thing, man. What's coming up for you? Like, what are you feeling? What are the words reminding you of?
How good he is, bro. How good he is, bro. For real. I think that's the reason why I started tearing up, because why me?
Yeah.
Like, I'm for real, bro. Like, why? Like, I'm saying in the sense of, like, there's so many much better people than me, bro. I stole, I lied, I done so many sins, bro. My father used to own a bodega. I stole a bodega. It's my own bodega. I stole my own bodega. You know what I mean? Like, you know how silly that sounds? And that's what I'm talking about. It's like what? I don't get you. I don't understand why you could choose. And one thing one sermon I was listening to, and I think it was Mike Todd actually. He had a good example. God used broken paintbrushes for his paintings. Because if not, you're gonna give the credit to the brush.
Wow.
You know, I think that's what it is and what it was. You know, I think he uses me because he knows I'm messed up in the head. like he just knows I'm all crazy and knowing damn well that I cannot do this without him. You know. So I think that's one thing that's with that little prayer. Look, I'm not even crying no more. Put me in the ring. You know what I mean? Like, yo.
No, but like I think it's interesting even because a lot of people are going to identify with that piece of your statement. Because I think that most people are going to say, why me? Most of the people who are pursuing God, they're going to say, why me? Because part of being able to pursue God is being able to understand, at least to a deeper level than your typical person, your brokenness.
Yeah.
Being able to understand that there's a piece of you that has serious lack.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the beginning of salvation. You realizing that you are a sinner and that you need God. So the people who aren't thinking, why me? Typically, they're gonna be people that are kind of full of themselves. Are people that are like, I'm good. And maybe they actually are a good person, but you can be a good person and still be prideful, right? And so hearing you say, why me? I think that the Father is typically going to respond to you and everybody who identifies with that statement with saying, why not you?
Man, you getting real romantic right now, bro. Yeah, you getting real.
This guy plays too much.
I do play too much. Man.
What is going on, YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify? It has been a hot, or we're in January, so a cold minute since we've been on here. But listen, I'm so happy to be back. Today I have an episode that is absolutely going to bless your life. I'm here with a friend of mine who I've grown very close to, and we've just been chopping it for a while now. And I'm super excited for us to just hop back in. Listen, I know we haven't been here for a while, but I had to spend some time just kind of praying through and asking myself, what is this podcast going to be? As some of you know, on Fridays we have our Good, Brave, and Heroic podcast with me and Joanna, and things were going so well with that that I started to focus on that and just creating the normal content that I create on YouTube. But when we were putting the podcast here on YouTube of the Valley of the Heroic podcast, response was just really great. Views were up. You guys seem to really be enjoying that content. But, I just wasn't sure if it was something that God wanted me to do. Now, this is what happened. My friend who's here today, Moises, reached out to me and he said, yo, I'm trying to be on the podcast. What's up? And we had a conversation.
I had to. I had to ask. I was like, come on. Now.
Listen, I told him, I haven't done an episode in literally 3 months, I think it's been. And that same day, somebody sends me a message and tells me they have a word and basically tells me that I need to start the podcast again. And I need to do exactly what I felt in my heart to do before to switch the podcast up. Listen, before the podcast was just me interviewing people, having conversations, less structured, and kind of went with the flow wherever it went. Now, the podcast is going to be really, really focused on telling people stories. In Valley of the Heroic, we speak a lot about pain, purpose, and intimacy with God. And those 3 things intertwined become a special component of your specific story as you reach out to God and grow in your intimacy and purpose with Him. If you can't realize how God turns your pain into purpose, then you'll be stuck in a cycle of pain, or at least a cycle of reliving the story of your pain forever. But if you are able to realize how God can turn pain into purpose, how God really meets you in the valley and wants you to see who He is in the valley, to meet you in the midst of the pain, to meet you in the midst of a wasteland, a desert, or a low place. He meets you there to show you that He is good, to show you that He loves you, to show you that He can take you out of anything and that He is more powerful than you could ever imagine. And so we really want to focus on being able to tell people stories in that regard. And today is the beginning of that process. It's almost like it's a new podcast, but the same thing, but a new thing, or whatever it is that you want to say. A new person we never had before. And I just want to welcome you guys to this and pray that you would be blessed by it. So, Moises.
How you doing, brother? How you doing?
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling relaxed.
Are you nervous?
Of course I'm nervous, but I feel like once we get into the motion and start chatting a bit, I think it's going to go away for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. So let's start off with just you telling me like how you're doing. How's everything been for you lately? What you've been going through?
So far, honestly, let's give it like a quick little intro too. It's very unique of this kind of the situation right now. Not even situation, this moment, because I knew you through. Shout out to Chino Too Strong, right? If don't be a weenie, get your beanie, right? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So, but overall, like I said, you never know the steps or the moments or what's going to be the next phase.
Yeah.
Like another shout out, Joel Fernandez, one of my boys, very close friend. He introduced me to Chino. Chino introduced me to you.
Yeah.
And it's just the fact that when you're just a genuine, open person, you connect people within that kind of group, And even before the podcast, you say, like, hey, if there's any soft topics you want to talk about, or just let me know that we cannot get into. But me personally, one thing I think is a strong suit for my character is that I have to be vulnerable. And I think that vulnerability is what could be the gift, but also could be the curse in some senses. It could be a gift because I could connect with somebody very, very intimate, very, very strongly within a matter of seconds.
Right.
But it could be a curse because sometimes people may take that as their advantage. And that's something that I'm personally kind of going through. I just now a couple months, but like my whole life, I always was kind of the nonchalant, decent friend. Like I'm just a nice dude. And it's hard to. It's easy to make a fist. It's easy to say, this person did me dirty. I'm gonna get my back. I'm gonna get my piece.
Yeah.
And it's weird because you know me. I'm not violent, and that's something even recent with God and even Jesus was kind of teaching me was the sense of like, give the other cheek. If they rob you, give me your coat. And it's with Him, show me that even with the any type of relationship, friends, siblings, relationships, like sometimes he showed me that you could be in a toxic relationship, but that doesn't mean you're with a toxic person. You know, and I think that's something that I recently been learning and kind of digging myself into and understanding that, like, you know, you're gonna have those tough moments with your brothers. You're gonna have those tough moments with your wife, with your girl, and there's gonna be good times in the beginning, you know. But the main thing that, you know, at the end of the day, when you met that person or when you hanging out with your friends, you know how genuine they are. You're like, hey, the reason why you make that connection because you read the room off the jump.
Yeah.
But the issue is the habits. Throughout the time, what kind of habits are they doing? And I think that's what causes that toxic relationship. You know, me personally, I feel like there's not really a bad or good person. There's neither you do good or you do bad. You know, and I think that's when I took that kind of message to myself, it was a bit easy for me not to really judge on people hard. Not easy. Nothing's easy, bro. Nothing's easy. That's a poor choice of words, man. It's a pain in the A, bro. But I think that's something that I just been developing these past couple of years. You know, like, you know, my little intro on me, like I'm an athletic trainer. If you guys want to follow me, it's a.fit.training. And that's a page that I made right after college, you know, just to kind of start my personal training. But I also wanted to make it a page where it's about, health, fitness, but it's also about your mind and life.
Yeah.
You know, I like to go on walks, you know, Weekway Park, and I'll try to find a quote, or I'll try to give myself that time. Like this world is so chaotic. We get so stressed from work, our social life, and the biggest influence, social media. Like, you know, like, what are you following? Who are you following?
Right.
What are you liking? You know what I mean? Like it's gonna catch up to you. So, especially after college, I was just focusing on my page. I did a little bit of personal training because I was waiting for my board exam for athletic training because you have to take this state exam. But once I passed that, I started my career in athletic training. I love what I do. Love the experience and the people who I met. Like I never, the doctors, the PTs, the physical therapists I met, and even like professional levels, like people who I covered. Like I remember just because other ATs know about me, know my kind of work, my ethic, and my determination. Like I had a shot like, hey, I need somebody to help me cover the Trenton Thunders. Like I'm gonna be draft league for 2 weeks. Can you help me out? And I'm over here like, bro, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm this little ghetto boy from Hillside, right? I'm like from Jersey, and I'm just kind of like, I'm really about to have the chance to really work in a major league, you know, professional baseball team. You know, and it's just that kind of experience was kind of like, wow, like it's mind blowing how sometimes your character could really carry you to your career.
Right, and it's like at the same time, don't not toot your own horn. Cause
that's true.
He's a beast. Like he knows what he's doing. He knows his stuff. Like I've seen him doing his craft, and it's bananas. And it's that excellence and the character, and also it's God opening doors for you. But yo, you deserve that, man.
Don't get me started with that, man. For real, because like it's like it's easy to talk about your story when you're on top of the mountain. Mm-hmm. You know, but like when that journey up,
it's tough.
It's easy to tumble back, and sometimes it gets a bit crazy because you're like, you could fall, and you're like, oh well, it's like I used to have the mindset of like if I fell or even if I fell, it was like, well, I was bound to fail. I'm Moises. You know how toxic that sounds? Like, you know what I mean? And it's
let's stop right there for a second, because that was, I think there's a lot of people that can identify with that.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't say it in the same way or admit it, right? Mm-hmm. I think that for me, I say something, I just have all these emotions inside that I'm just like, oh, of course you messed up, or of course you did this again, or whatever the case may be. I've said to myself, historically, but where do you think that came from? Yeah, I'm bound to fail. I'm Moses.
People want to get mad at me, but my childhood, man, my childhood.
It's always the childhood,
child
bro.
trauma, bro. Child trauma. But
you could have a great family. Like you ever heard the saying, like it doesn't matter how good of a parent you are, you're gonna traumatize your kids in some way.
And then the beauty about it is really just is nothing but like I said, back then I used to be like, damn, why are they so rough on me, this and that. But then self-reflecting, and then sympathy is really understanding your own point of view, but empathy is understanding their point of view. And I think working on that empathy allowed me to see the point of view, like, oh wait, like he was only doing this because they were doing that to him when he was a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And generational curses is not just curses, but it's also generational habits. So it's like you know what I mean? Like so it's not just family, it's also school, it's also your friends that you grew up with, So like for example, like childhood wise, like I was the youngest guy cousin from my mom and dad's side. And in the sense of like my father's side has a big family. Mom's side, big family. And then with my generation, I was like the youngest, So I always saw like the trials and errors of my older generation, my brothers, my cousins, and from both sides. So I think that's the reason why I'm also a bit like, I try not to get myself into trouble because I seen trouble. I seen trouble. I seen it. I already seen it firsthand, So it doesn't matter, I'm never gonna throw the first punch. Never. But if I need to, I'll do the image. But that's how I grew up. Like that's what I'm saying. Childhood trauma. That's how
bro.
You know what I mean? It's
I hear you.
Like when somebody stepped on you, you either gotta step on them back. That was the brought up of my childhood kind of. But obviously, we all mature, develop. You have to push that to the side, and
it's a growth process.
Yeah, it's a growth process. And then going back on like the doubting and all that stuff. So that was just kind of like, I'm like I said, people going through the same thing I'm going through in life. Like as a kid, I was bullied a lot. I really was. I was a bit overweight. Insecurity, self-esteem was kind of low. I didn't really even develop that until like sophomore year of high school. So that's just a long time period. But even in sophomore year of high school, like, I still had those little like insecurities. But it's wild though, because that whole time of process, I was always able to at least bring a smile in the room. I was always able to not project that kind of, like, whatever I'm going through, I'm not gonna let someone feel that because I know how it feels. Same thing when I work. I could have a great day. I could have the best day in my life. I could have a good day, but I could have a bad day. I could have a terrible day. I could have the worst day in my life. No matter what of those outcomes are, I cannot let that affect how I treat my patients. I cannot let that affect how I talk to my peers and my mentors or my people who I'm working with. I cannot let that. Imagine if like you just sprained your ankle and you come to me and because I'm having some a bad day at home or something, I'm gonna reflect that on you and make you feel worse. Like me personally, my heart, I cannot do that.
Yeah.
And talking about her, I think that's the reason why I felt like, I was going through all that stuff as my childhood and growing up. But I could definitely say God never left me, bro. God never left me. He was really there the whole time. And I just think it's because he knew my heart. He just knew my heart. So it gets funny. It gets real funny because I grew up Catholic and I still respect my Catholic traditions too. So even when it comes to like Christianity, I was a bit introduced to it, and I like the sermons and the practices. I understand it, it's pretty dope. But I always respected my Catholic background because that was the first way God introduced Himself to me. And my thing is that's the kind of bond I have with Him. It is what it is, That's how I grew up, and and for me to deny and not accept that, I feel like I'm not being genuine. I'm not being, transparent, you know?
Yeah.
But definitely reading the word and Jesus and God definitely helped me out through my tough times, you know, after high school, like in college. Like, college is such a beast on its own, you know? I was working several jobs, bro. Like, I was working at Sherwin-Williams, Premier Hotel. I used to work at the sub spot. I used to paint houses with my boy Corey. Bro, like,
You were hustling.
I was hustling, bro, and it's because I grew up that way. My family's a bunch of hustlers. Like, when you work, and if you don't work, who's gonna work for you?
Right.
Like, no, you're not. How you gonna bring bread to the table? Not.
Yeah.
Well, you just gonna sit there. You know what I mean? So, I was always working and trying to balance that out with school and my passion with like athletic training and sports medicine. Like, I'm trying to drive for it, but then again, and once again, insecurity. Like besides the whole image of me, academically, I was also insecure. Like, you know, like, bro, I was in remedial classes. I didn't get A's and B's. I got freaking C's and B's, and I prayed for an A for once. Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And it's funny too. You know, and the parents don't help. I remember talking at like honor roll middle school. I'll show my dad. My dad was like, "Okay, está bien." Like, I'm like, oh, you're shaking the paper. Like, all right.
They yell at you. They yell at you
like,
when you don't get the A's and B's.
Yeah, but once you get them,
the
it's
A
like
and B. It's like, okay, you just did what you were supposed to be doing this whole time. So why am I gonna celebrate you? I mean, it sounds like from a lot of what you're saying, especially I hear you talking about the times in school.
Yeah.
That you were carrying a lot of insecurity.
Yeah.
And you know, you spoke about your weight. You spoke about the academics.
Yeah.
And feel free to go into any other ones. But what do you think it was like for you growing up, feeling all of that insecurity?
Nothing. I felt nothing because the main thing I could really think about is my family. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like I got nothing but love from my family. My mother. If you met my mother, you're like, oh, that's a saint. Like it's. I can't say nothing bad about my mom. My mom loved me unconditionally. She'll love anybody. You come to my house, but she'll give you a warm blanket and a cup.
Yeah.
Like, you know, my mother, she had a daycare. To this day, she still has that daycare my whole life. My best friend, I met him before pre-K, because he grew up with me in my house.
That's crazy.
And, you know, and that's the reason why once again, God's blessing and God's setups. I think that's the reason why I'm always able to talk to people, take care of people, see how people feel, because I've been dealing with kids my whole life. I've been dealing with babies, toddlers, and teenagers my whole life. When I was a baby and toddler and teenager.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so like I said, God's setups, and I think that's the reason why I'm so good with communicating with people, connecting with people, because when you think about it, when you're in that setup for 20 plus years, you're bound to get some kind of gift.
Yeah.
You know? But like I said, those insecurities was there and all that stuff, but I really didn't care about that. I knew I was going through it, but I'd be damned if you let me think I'm a quit or stop pushing because of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People go through depression, all that stuff every day, but if you're not exercising, if you're not taking care of yourself, then you're not giving yourself a fighting chance.
Right.
You know what I mean? That tension, that stress is gonna be there the whole time. And guess what? It's gonna get stronger and you're gonna get beat down even more. You know? It's so funny because like I'm not even a violent person, but like, so a good analogy would be like my cousins and my brother, they used to do kickboxing. A little bit of kickboxing, and his friend used to do boxing with him and kickboxing, and he used to do wrestling. So in high school growing up, I would go to my cousin's basement, we'd be all matted up, and it would just be a heavy bag over there, pairs of gloves, and that's how I kind of learned, that's how I kind of started martial arts and love combat sports. And it's weird because you're like, well, that's so violent, this and that. Because of that, I think that helped me out through my insecurities, my self-esteem, stress I had in high school. And ever since I picked up that habit, I loved it. I loved it. It was weird. At first, it sucked. You know what I mean? Like it's same thing. You could relate it biblically. God only shows when there's chaos.
Yeah.
He only shows when there's chaos, and sometimes with chaos, that's the only way you could get triumph. Like you know,
that chaos is we run away from it, and we don't want to experience it. But the human being, I was watching a video from a friend of mine this morning, and he was talking about that human beings, we can't grow without disruption. We can't grow without calamity and lack sometimes, because there's things inside of you that God wants to change, and there's things inside of you that he wants to renew. And he's called you to a purpose, but you and I, we have all this garbage inside of us, all this mess, insecurities, things that we haven't dealt with, some that we've tried to deal with, but we don't have the strength to, and maybe some that we think we dealt with, but we really didn't, right? And all of that is inside of us, and he's calling us to something that is way beyond us.
Yeah.
And it's like, if he calls you and everything is going fine, everything is going great for you, and he says, listen, I have this purpose for you, but first you need to deal with this insecurity that you have because of this girlfriend that you had in middle school who played you out, and you also need to deal with this porn problem, and you need to deal with this overeating problem you have because you're comforting yourself with food, and also that problem that you have with commitment because you're afraid because your dad left the house when you were 5 years old.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You're afraid to commit to a family because you're afraid that you're gonna make the same mistakes as him. I need you to deal with that.
Yes.
And everything's going good for you.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Nothing, because everything's going good for you. But the moment that life starts to go to a place where you reach a low, not depression, right? But you just reach a low. You start to lose things. Things start to hit you. You start to realize, oh snap, there's some things that I gotta deal with. And then God meets you in the midst of your pain. And he starts to lovingly pull those things out. Right?
100%.
One of my biggest ones was in this past season, because I've been going through a trial for a long time. And one of the ones that I had was a tendency to use buying new things to make myself feel better. And so if you keep having great finances, you're gonna keep doing it. But the moment that your finances start to become a little bit in the red, it's like, if I keep this habit up, I'm gonna ruin my family.
Habits.
Right? You said generational habits earlier,
habits.
right? And so then now I'm at a place where I can't do it anymore. And then now God can speak to me about that. And now he could start to work with me. And now he could start to pour into that area and replace it with something new. And so it's crazy, because if you don't ever go through that low, nothing is gonna change.
Nothing.
And a lot of us, we don't realize that. We just want everything to just be fine. But if everything is fine, human beings, if everything's fine, that's why companies fail, for example. Companies, they hit this high, they plateau at that high, they become comfortable at that high, and after a while, you start to decline. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. You don't realize the decline until you're like halfway down. And now you have all this momentum going downward, and you wanna fix it? Fam, it's too late.
Yeah. 100%.
It's too late.
I feel like, and it's interesting you say that, because all those analogies, the main word that's very similar, and I feel like even the devil loves to work with it, is comfort. He loves it when you're comfortable.
Yeah.
He loves it. The moment, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can sit on that couch. Yeah, that's fine. Feel comfortable. Let your body decay. You know, because you're not gonna see it at that moment. And that's 100% true. I just feel like you shouldn't feel comfortable.
You can't.
Exercising doesn't feel comfortable. We can admit that. Exercising does not feel comfortable.
It's
when
terrible.
you're squatting 300 pounds,
Yeah.
250,
Nah.
like
It's
not
both terrible and amazing.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's you gotta get off of that, you know. And that's something.
The hardest part is the beginning.
Yeah, it's the beginning. It's that comfort zone. You need to break that wall. I guess it's funny how you say, even going back with my upbringing, like martial arts with my cousin. He's a friend, but I consider him as a cousin. I consider him as family.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. I think we all.
We all have those cousins that just like, yeah, it's my primo.
Yeah, for 100%. And he was the first one that kind of taught me how to box a bit. And when I was first kind of learning with him, he knew I was a bit, like I was not holding back, but I was just afraid to throw the punch. And I'll block and this, but I was just afraid to throw the punch. And this is like the first week of me just training with him. And he got frustrated with me. He said, bro, what's up with you? He's like, well, what's the matter? Like what's the problem? I'm like, yo, like, I'm afraid to get knocked out. I told him, like, I'm afraid to get knocked out. I'm afraid to get hit. And he's like, listen, you're gonna get hit regardless.
Wow.
And you know what I mean? He said, you're gonna get hit. He's like, we're holding pads, and even when we're sparring, I'm going really, really light with you. He said, you're gonna get hit regardless. You might as well get your hit back.
Wow.
And when he said it, I was like, oh, okay, all right. And then the moment I break that mental wall, that's when I saw my progress.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, all right, I'm throwing punches. I'm learning how to slip more comfortably, knowing my angles. And like, it's because you're breaking out that I will never be able to see that point of view if I was behind that barrier.
You're focusing only on not getting hit.
Yes.
When the reality is you can't avoid getting hit. You're gonna get hit.
Yes.
You might as well get your hit back.
Yes, 100%.
That's so fire because like life is like that.
Yes.
That's what life is like.
And to this day, like, Corey, I will two-piece you. Hopefully you're watching this. It's funny. We always have this joke. Even today, like, I'll be in the room and he'll look at me and he'll be like, y'all really rock your jaw right now. I'm like, I'll look at him. I was like, well, I really hope you knock me out because if I'm not out, you're gonna get your head back. I can't curse. I'm like, you're gonna get. But like I said, family, and like, even though other people in this world may be like, oh, that's a crazy family, I love my crazy family.
Yeah.
My family made me crazy enough to have crazy faith. Like, you know, like it's
good.
And bro, like, you know me, and when people really, I'm a weird, insane person, bro. My mind goes everywhere, but I love it. I love it because it makes me different, makes me unique, and that's the beauty about the whole life thing. Like, you know, let's actually talk about this real quick. Like after New Year's, I was talking before. I wanted to develop a new routine, even with my prayers. So what I started doing was, you know, I took. Well, I didn't have the first roll, but since January 1st to now, today is 24th. That's crazy. It's a whole month.
25th.
25th?
Yeah.
Jeez. All right, whatever.
We're almost in February.
Yeah, we're almost in February. All right, so that's crazy. So from the beginning of the year, I try to do my Bible study, but if I don't read a Bible, I start writing my prayers. Mm-hmm. Because even as you can tell in this podcast, even right now, I could talk all day. I talk so much that I'm freely about it, but I feel like once I started writing my prayers, I could really deliver the message that I wanted to speak to him about.
Did it slow you down?
It slowed me down completely because at the end of the day, when you're writing, what you gotta worry about? Spelling. You gotta worry about grammar. And not just that, when I'm seeing that I'm only having 2 sentences, and me just looking at that, just 2 sentences, I'm like, I could say a lot more than that. It's like a writing assignment in school.
Yeah.
I want you to write 5 paragraphs. Write those 5 paragraphs.
Yeah.
Try to write those 5 paragraphs. You're once again out of comfort. You're freaking working like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and so what do I need to write to him? James, Matthew, they wrote. So why are you not writing?
Yeah.
You know, so that's one thing I started doing, and I noticed how much I could really connect with him a bit more. So for example, like this is from, and I always mark the date, because what I want to do is by the end of the year, when I have all these papers stacked up, I want to see my faith within that year, my prayers within that year. What obstacle was in front of me in January that I saw that God took away in May?
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like you want to move, you want to move the fence, but the guy's like, bro, I'm gonna move the land for you, and you want a car, but I'm like, bro, I'm gonna give you a house and a car. I'm trying to give you all this stuff, but you want to stay in your comfort zone.
On the couch.
You want to stay on that couch and binge watch Netflix and all that stuff. So like,
and he coming for somebody today.
But like if you're here, so January 16th, I said, Lord, please forgive me. This week I've been lost and running away, purposely sinning. Like I said, I'm a messed up individual. I'm just saying this because there's a podcast that we gotta be open about, and I'm being real with you guys. I'm insane in the membrane. All right. So, but overall, I said, this week I've been lost and running away, purposely sinning to find pleasure, and yet my flesh overcame. Admittment. I'm not gonna imagine you writing this and you lying while you're writing. Like I can't lie when I write. It wouldn't make any sense. But I am not worthy. Me reading today showed me your strength with David, because he had strong connections with you. Please, Lord, guide me today and have strength to beat my own flesh. The love you have for me is unmeasurable. Love you, God. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. And that was at the 16th. And once again, everybody's gonna have like everybody's gonna relapse. Everybody's gonna you're not gonna be perfect, bro. Like I just feel like people think like you start this journey and then it's like, oh, I'm on cruise control. Like, bro, you're gonna get a flat tire. There's gonna be potholes. You might even go back if you forgot your keys at the house. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's like you might have to go 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. So, yeah, like I said, I did it 16th. That week was a bit rough for me. I just had a tough week that week. And then the last time I prayed was the 23rd. That's a whole, what is that? Almost 9 days? I can't do math. Whatever. That's a whole week.
Me to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much a whole week of me just not even talking to him. And then with that prayer, I put, Lord, please forgive me. I haven't wrote my prayers in a while. Jesus, thank you for loving me and always protecting me and my family. Today, making lunch. Oh, wow. Yes. So once I got out of work early a bit, and my mom, like I said, she's always busy with the daycare. I was at home and I made some plátano con salami, you know, and that shit was rocking. But then I cooked for her, so I said I wrote my prayer today. Making lunch with, and for my mom was holy.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I wrote
That's
that.
powerful.
But even when I was writing that, I put today making lunch, you know, for my mom was, and I was like, when I put the word, and once again, this is the reason why I like to write, because if I'm talking to God, I would say, oh, it was good.
Yeah.
But is good really the word you wanted to say?
Is good really the word that was in your spirit?
Yes. Now you're good, brother. You're good. But
you play too much, yo.
Yeah. But for real, because like that's exactly what I wrote. That's what it was, and the only word I could really think of at that moment, because my mom works hard, bro. Like both my parents and my father, like my father grinded his whole life, you know, and they have not even a high school diploma, and they were able to raise a household of 6 in the U.S.
They figured it out.
They figured it out. Where all their kids are about to have a degree and careers. You know what I mean? Like that's unthinkable sometimes. But yeah, it's like the best word I could think of it was holy. Once again, like that, like, bro, people are struggling just with a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
That's holy. Like, you can't tell me that's not God's work. And then I put, Lord, please be with me for the rest of the night. I must have been writing that during the day. But for the rest of the night, I said, love you and thank you, Lord, for you are truly, wow. And that's the thing, too. I be forgetting what I be writing. I put, Thank you, Lord, for you are truly my Father and protector. Allow my heart to heal, forgive, and grow. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. And that's what I was, at that moment, that's what I was writing.
Let's stop for a second.
Yeah, brother.
Because I see you choking up a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
So yeah, you are good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Emotion is not a bad thing, man. What's coming up for you? Like, what are you feeling? What are the words reminding you of?
How good he is, bro. How good he is, bro. For real. I think that's the reason why I started tearing up, because why me?
Yeah.
Like, I'm for real, bro. Like, why? Like, I'm saying in the sense of, like, there's so many much better people than me. Bro, I stole. I lied. I done so many sins. So many sins, bro. My father used to own a bodega. I stole the bodega. It's my own bodega. I stole my own bodega. You know what I mean? Like, you know how silly that sounds? And that's and that's what I'm talking about. It's like what I don't get you. I don't understand why you could choose. And one thing one sermon I was listening to, and I think it was Mike Todd actually. He had a good example. God used broken paint brushes for his paintings. Because if not, you're gonna give the credit to the brush.
Wow.
You know, I think that's what it is and what it was. You know, I think he uses me because he knows I'm messed up in the head. like he just knows I'm all crazy and knowing damn well that I cannot do this without him. You know. So I think that's one thing that's with that little prayer. Look, I'm not even crying no more. Put me in the ring. You know what I mean? Like, yo.
No, but like I think it's interesting even because a lot of people are going to identify with that piece of your statement. Because I think that most people are going to say, why me? Most of the people who are pursuing God, they're going to say, why me? Because part of being able to pursue God is being able to understand, at least to a deeper level than your typical person, your brokenness.
Yeah.
Being able to understand that there's a piece of you that has serious lack.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the beginning of salvation. You realizing that you are a sinner and that you need God. So the people who aren't thinking, why me? Typically, they're gonna be people that are kind of full of themselves. Are people that are like, I'm good. And maybe they actually are a good person, but you can be a good person and still be prideful, right? And so hearing you say, why me? I think that the Father is typically going to respond to you and everybody who identifies with that statement with saying, why not you?
Man, you getting real romantic right now, bro. Yeah, you getting real.
This guy plays too much.
I do play too much.
No, you're good. You're good. It's hilarious. It's just like you get real romantic, bro.
right now.
I play too much too.
You have to, bro.
But
you
it's
have
true.
To,
it's true, though. It's like you could come up with this whole list of reasons.
A big
you could
list.
be like, I stole from my dad's store. Like,
yeah.
I took, you know how many CNC sodas I took from Papi's store, father?
CNC, cheap and cold, bro. Cheap and cold. That's what they call it. If you don't know what CNC means, it's cheap and cold. That's what it is.
CNC sodas are life.
Crazy.
I haven't had one of those. I haven't had one of those since like high school.
Yeah.
But you could come up with this whole real list.
Yeah.
Right? And some of it is gonna be stuff that you did in your childhood. Some of it might be things that you're like seriously ashamed about, things that you feel broken in, areas that you feel powerless in, and all of these things. And then he's like, forget all that. Here's all the reasons why I love you. Here's all the reasons why I'm invested in you.
Yeah.
I know you more than you know yourself. And I still love you.
You know, and not to not interrupt, but it just came up to my head too. Is like you said, it's this me working in at the high school and working with a high school athletes and a group of people. Like these kids, like they trust me, man. Like these kids, like they're like, oh, you like, I make their day. Like I always see there's one basketball player. She always comes in a grumpy, mugged face. And every time I see her, I'm like, I'm going to make her ass laugh. Like I don't care how
you
mad.
make it your mission.
Yeah, no matter what, I'm gonna crack that smile. And she, I always do. I'm a funny dude, you know. I am what I am. But overall, it's kind of nice because like saying that I can make an impact like that, you know, that's just one. Now, there's kids. I remember one time I came to work and these two athletes made just a drawing from our class. They're like, hey, yo, can you frame this in your room? I'm like, of course. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, and it's one that says, we appreciate you, and it's a silly drawing. It's like, and it was like stick figures. Really
that's
like
a lot from high school kids.
A high school, like, you know what I mean? For them
high school kids, because they're too cool to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, I worked with high school kids for 11 years. So it's like
so that's why I was a high schooler myself. So,
So people forget.
Yeah, people forget. I'm like, yo.
People forget, and then they go and they encounter a high school, and they're like, these young whippersnappers, and they're such knuckleheads.
Here, young buck. Like,
it's like, what are you talking about? You were a knucklehead when you were in high school, too.
And they probably did worse things when they were in high school.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Facts.
Like, come on. And so when I saw that feedback from my high school, I'm like, geez, like, God's work. Like, I did not know I could make that kind of impact.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just the students, there's also the coaches, there's also the parents.
Right.
The parents always come up to me and say, like, I don't trust nobody else with my kid besides you. I mean, well, I just met you.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? But it's kind of seeing that impact that I can make is what's very interesting and holy. As I can only say that.
It is. It's a holy thing, and it points to your purpose in life.
Yes.
Like God made you to be a connector. God made you to. It's very evident to me that He made you to connect with people, to brighten their day. And it's like, people think about that. You know what's one of the beautiful things? Like, you could tell me otherwise, but I'm assuming you don't feel called to be a pastor.
No.
Right.
No.
And people think that that's the only thing of value that you could do as far as like a purpose that God calls you to.
Yeah, I
like
noticed
being a
that.
pastor, being a
Part of the
worship
ministry.
leader, being a ministry,
yeah.
right? And it's like, people got it twisted. God placed you where He placed you in your life, gave you the passions and desires that He gave you to be an athletic trainer. And you're really passionate about it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Like, it's just evident, like, that's something that you can, like, this guy, I could tell he studies, he's looking, he's trying to be, you're always trying to be on the cutting edge of information, right?
Yeah,
you're always trying to find a new way, right? Something's going on, you want to find 10 different ways to deal with that problem that the athlete is facing, right? When I have a problem where I'm tight in some area of my body, when I was having hip issues, who did I call? I called Moises. And for an hour, he helped me stretch in like 40 different ways. And by the end of that session, I went from not being able to do a 70% squat to 100%, almost 100% down in 45 minutes, right? And you're like, go home, do that every day, and you'll be fine. And so my point is that God gave you all of that passion so that you have a vehicle now to be able to connect. Who's going to connect with these high school kids if not you? Yeah. Who else is being a light in that situation? Who else is being able to take everything that they've been through, the stuff that they go through daily, like you were saying earlier, the insecurities, you're not bringing that to work. You're not bringing that to the people you're connecting with. That means that you're able to move past those things because you believe you have a higher purpose than those things. I'm having a bad day. None of that matters because I am called to connect with people. And that is a life purpose that is more valuable than somebody who so desperately wants to live for God that they become a pastor and God never called them to do that.
I've seen that too. Like people just working, try and wait for them.
I'll just become a pastor. And especially if you're a good speaker, right? Or you're a passionate speaker, or you have a good head on your shoulders. The moment any of that happens, pastor. I'm about to be 35 in a week and a half. And I'm not saying the jury's out on me becoming a pastor. I still think there's a potential that I'll pastor a church. But I'm 35 and I haven't pastored a church yet. Mm-hmm. I was 12 years old being told that I was going to be a pastor. I started leading a Bible study at 12 years old.
Yeah.
Been doing some type of teaching almost every year since then. Some years I didn't. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now I'm in this lane of content creation and I'm doing Bible studies, but did I fail because I didn't become a pastor? For a while, I thought.
Yeah, I bet.
But I didn't. And so it's encouraging to hear that you are living in the lane that God called you to, taking all of your experiences, taking the love that your family put into you, taking those prayers that you're praying, taking the habits and things that you've learned due to your field of expertise and passion, and helping people to live a better life.
It's funny how you mentioned that too, because with my job, it's like I have this like love and hate with football. Like when it comes to covering, if you're an AT, you probably already know that covering a football game is like dreadful because anything can happen.
Yeah.
But
I could imagine.
Yeah, anything can happen.
What's a good day?
A good day?
Nothing happens? Does that ever happen?
Something's gonna happen.
Something's always
gonna
happens.
happen. Yeah, it's somebody gets a cramp, or if they get hard enough, you could get a stinger, where their arm just freaking goes numb. And guess what? That's common. It's just part of the game. But like I said, it's a love and hate because I find it like, oh my God, all these things could go on. But once I get to that field and Friday Night Lights is on and the game is going, I just go autopilot. And I think that's what that is. I think it's just him. I just go autopilot. Like I just get in the zone. And I like it because it's kind of like you as an AT is part of the game. How quickly can you evaluate, determine if it's safe for them to go back on the field, prepare them, evaluate them correctly, and then get them back in the field, because timing is in the essence. If that's our starter quarterback and you know that team needs him, and it's only the first half,
you gotta get
that's a lot of game left.
Yeah, you gotta get him in as soon as possible.
You know what I mean? So that's why I said it's a love and hate, because it's like I hate all the drama, but I love like that thriller action of the fact that like I'm legit part of the game.
Yeah.
You know, and it gets exciting and a bit like, you gotta be in the insane side. Like I said, you have to be insane to make a big like impact. I feel like sometimes you gotta be crazy. Like you can't just be no basic bum and just like, you know what I mean? Like same thing like martial arts. Like you can't just keep doing the same move. Try a different approach. See if that fails, and if it fails, now you know it doesn't work. Like you know, and that's the thing with football. It's so crazy. You know? It's so, like I said, love and hate, because there have been times where the best highlight I could think of is, all right, this one kid gets a stinger, and I got to the field, got him off the field, you know, checked his range of motion, good amount of strength, you know, got the team doc involved, the doc agreed with me, he's okay with to go back in. I wrapped him up with a shoulder spike, it was like an ace bandage. All right, check his full range of motion, can he do a burpee? All right, he's pretty functional, go right back in. And I was so in the zone, and I was just so like thinking about that moment. I wasn't even paying attention to the timing. But then like, as I'm doing all that, the coach goes, the head coach is like, oh, what's up with so-and-so? Like, how long he's gonna be out? I'm like, coach, he's already back in. And he just looks at the field. Okay, he knows like he has to make these plays. That's the thing, knowing not sympathy, but empathy, knowing that other person's role. He's probably stressing himself out.
Yeah.
He has to make plays knowing that the pieces of the puzzles are missing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I say, no, that piece is already, God's work. I already put that piece for you. Stop complaining. Like, you know? Like, why are you stressing about gas money? like, you know, like. So
that's crazy, bro, because it's the fact that he didn't realize that the piece was back in.
Yes, he didn't realize it yet. I didn't tell him yet. Like, oh, okay, you're good. I told another coach, but he's the head coach. So I let him know. So I'm like, listen, he came up to me. I'm like, listen, he's already back there. He looked at him. He looked at me. He's like, good shit. And he walked back. You know what I mean? He's like, you know, and that's what the love and hate of that kind of environment. It's like, when that happened, I was like, yo, I'm him. Like, I'm him. Like, you know, like it is what it is, you know? So
it made you feel good.
It made me feel good. It was just in the sense of like, I'm not that average Mo. Yeah. I'm not an average Mo. Like, I'm the Mo. Like, you know, I'm Mo. Coach Mo. But overall, that's one of what God's blessings, I guess, you know, and that's just with football. Now with wrestling, I love wrestling because at the end of the day, it's a combat sport. Like I said, I did a little bit of martial arts in high school with my cousins in the basement. He taught me a lot with he taught me more jiu-jitsu and grappling, stud. Like when I say I used to grapple him, bro, this man was like water. He will submit me, tap me on every single. I would not be able to beat him. So he taught me that, and his boy was a wrestler in Roselle Park. He was a good wrestler, heavyweight too. So it was like, that taught me how to kind of fight or control a smaller and bigger opponent, you know? And then the bigger opponent was the one who taught me how to strike, you know? You know, he was the one who was just kind of like, hey, you got to break off that mental block, you know? And that got me a lot bit more comfortable. But once I got rid of that, once I was done with that phase of my life, I stopped because of college. You know, I had to get my degree. But then after college and go back to my career, I started training at All-Star MMA with Jamal Patterson in Union. Love the people there. Shout out to John Perez, one of the instructors there. Amazing guy. I can name a whole bunch of crews, but we don't got, But overall, there's a lot of studs over there. So like me training over there and working with them, and then working and grappling with the wrestling team at the high school, where once again, another shout out, Nestor Taffer, Kenny Taffer, Ryan, Rob, you know, like if you ever watch this, they're the coaches there, like they're studs. They wrestle their alumni over there, and
they
one
did
of them,
it first.
yeah, they were there for. One of them is wrestling for Colombia. He's I think nationally, like he's a stud.
Wow.
Stud. Stud. But over when I'm practicing with them at work, like let's say I just have wrestling, I'll practice with them and learning their technique and knowing that different approach. And it's just so cool and beautiful when like you take your time to learn a skill, and God allows that too. I think that's another beauty, another blessing. So when I'm doing jiu-jitsu, when I'm doing wrestling, and I kind of do a little bit of striking and Muay Thai on the side with a couple of guys, I'm just focusing on that moment, everything clears out. And then when it comes to like covering wrestling matches, same thing. That's what I said, love and hate. It's like wrestling, anything can happen. It's less intensity because just two people instead of 11 people running across the field and stuff like that. But overall, with wrestling, it's nice. It's like you're watching a film. It's like you're watching a story. You know, that's the beauty about it. And with wrestling, you get certain injuries that's a lot of nosebleeds. And that's another thing. My role as an AT, as wrestling, you get blood time. I don't know if you know what that means. Like, so in wrestling, you get blood time in the sense of there's a certain amount of time that you have in order to stop the bleeding of the match.
Oh wow!
So like, let's say you have a nosebleed in the middle of the match. I think it's like 5 minutes or 2 minutes, depending on the
total or
in total.
Okay.
So imagine like you have a nosebleed, that's not stopping, right? So
yeah.
Overall, like you have, let's say it's 2 minutes. Let's say you have 2 minutes just to stop the nosebleed. 2 minutes, like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes your kid can have a nosebleed and people take forever to stop it.
Yeah.
You know, but little techniques that I learned, even through my experience through Kane University with their athletic training program and people who I met and their skills, I learned how to stop it a bit quicker than usual, than the average, because I got out of my comfort zone. I took that chance to get out of my comfort zone and learn new things. So, once again, that's kind of one of my gifts. I guess God's works in that sense. But once again, it's in the sense of I'm in there in a wrestling match, and my role is to stop somebody's nosebleed within under 2 minutes. And what could happen is you could stop it, boom, everything is good. All right, clean the mat, because there's going to be blood on the mat.
Yeah.
So you got to disinfect that, whatever. You're good. Sometimes your trials in life is not only going to happen once. It's going to happen multiple times. You're going to fail multiple times. So guess what? That nosebleed that I just stopped, he has another period to wrestle. Boom, it happened again. So I have to go right back out there. So you're constantly, it's an up and down battle in the sense of like, you need to control the environment at the end of the day. So the only thing you could really do is what? Preparation. All right? Are you preparing yourself for, if you know something is coming, why are you just sitting there? So what happened is once he started bleeding once, I'm like, okay, you know what? What did I learn from that first experience? All right, well, it took me a while to really pick up the blood and take out the trash. And I noticed that I put one nose plug and it's not really holding that much. What I'm gonna do to prepare myself for the next match, or if it happens again, is I'm gonna double bag my gloves. So I'll put 2 layers of gloves. That way, once I'm done, I get the garbage, I can unravel it, boom. I don't need to waste time.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll use that. So preparation. So I'll get rid of that. Boom. I get a nose plug. Or that one's not good. I take that one out. Well, with the other garbage can, with the other garbage glove. I take that one, put a new one in. But with the new one, what can I do different? Oh, I could put Vaseline. You thought of that? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, or whoever. But put Vaseline. Bend it a bit. That way it's bent, it's stuck in the nose a bit deeper, and it can also expand. So that we can stop the bleeding even more. What else can I do? Oh, let me get an ice pack and put it behind his neck and put another one right behind his cheek. Oh, why ice? Well, ice, we know that's a vasoconstrictor. So why don't we constrict those vessels? That way the blood flow stops and those platelets can really build up and it can stop the bleeding on its own. Wow, Moses, you really know your stuff. I know. But you know, and that's the stuff that's the love. And that's what goes in my mind within that 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. Within that 2 minutes, that's what goes in my head. And that's why I love what I do. And that's why it's like a love and hate when it comes to like sports medicine, because you hate the drama it brings. It's like, oh my God, someone's nose bleeding. But then in the back of your head, you're like, someone's nose bleeding. Let me show my work.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's like it gives you you have the opportunity to rise to the occasion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like you have that adrenaline too.
Yeah.
It's like a sport within itself,
yes,
in a sense, because you have to
it's like the
figure out the
Olympics.
fastest way to get from point A to B.
Yeah.
And the faster you are, while not diminishing on efficiency,
Yeah.
then you're gonna have a greater impact on the well-being of the team.
And the beauty, what makes you faster is your preparation. And I think that's something that a lot of people gotta understand. It's that preparation, that's the main key. People are neglecting that. People are just kind of like, they fall once, but they don't understand why did they fail. You know what I mean? Is it the same crew you're hanging out with? Just saying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it could be something simple like that. You know what I mean? Is it, oh, you still holding grudges?
Yeah.
You still talking shit? Like, you know what I mean? Like let that go. Like, let's be genuine, be kind. Why? It's one thing. It just comes to my head now, but I don't like it when like people just make their room negative in the sense of like, oh, like let's say like a washing machine is broken, and if someone comes in, oh well, who's gonna wash them dishes now? Like, well, if you're not gonna offer to wash them dishes, just stay quiet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why you gotta say that out? Just keep that to yourself. It's like that old saying: if you got nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of like the main thing I approach it to when it comes to relationships and connections with people. You know, yeah, I might be going all out of track of it, but yeah, that's
you're good, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hearing a lot of different lessons that you've learned, applications that you've made. And I'm wondering if there's experiences, because a lot of times we go through tough life experiences that teach us, oh, I need to prepare. Like you were saying, being a person who's prepared, being a person who knows their stuff, who's ready.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering for you, like with everything that you've talked about so far,
Yeah.
what were the different life experiences that you went through that taught you these things? What were the difficult things that you had to, the storms you had to weather that gave you that valuable information? It's like this TV show I think of, Netflix, called Alone.
Yeah, okay, yes.
You ever seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like they throw all these people into like this random deserted place.
Yep.
And they're not surviving together, they're surviving alone, literally alone. And they're like around each other, but they're not close enough where they would encounter another person. They're all just in the same general
I
area.
believe it's like a certain amount of days you have to go through too.
Whoever goes the most.
The longest, right?
Yeah, whoever goes the
competing
longest.
against the other person.
You're competing, and you don't know, if I'm not mistaken, you don't know when another person quits. So you just gotta keep going as far as you could go, and you might actually be the first place. Like everybody else might have quit, and you kept going.
Yeah.
Or you might quit 2 days before the person that was in first place quits.
Yeah.
And so, I lost my train of thought. But anyway, on that show, they're placed at these places, and they have to take all the experiences that they have to be able to survive and weather the different difficulties, because they place them in really difficult places to survive in. There's usually something really bad about it, like it's about to be winter.
Yeah, like
bears, there's not a lot of food of certain types. There's only certain types of food.
You start off just on a cliff, like
yeah, you have like almost nothing with you, and so they have to be able to survive. And these people are professionals. They're experts at survival, and they struggle. So imagine, with all the difficulty they've already put themselves through, they have a difficulty surviving these extreme situations. Imagine how they come out on the other side. They're probably like, wow, I learned so much that now the stuff they used to survive through before seems like nothing. Because of everything that they went through that experience. So I say all that to say that difficult experiences are always what give us a valuable lesson.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, I want to hear more about your specific story, about what were the different, because you keep sharing, I do this, I do that, I'm passionate about this, right? I'm wondering how you got there. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I could. I probably need to build up a little, bake a bit in the head, but I would say maybe let's be open here. So I would say knowing relationships before, unfortunately. I think once again, like talking about like toxic relationships, but not a toxic person. I think that's what it is.
That was so real when you said that.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh man, that's true.
No, but it's true, because you can't. That bond in the beginning, it could be very pure and beautiful, but certain habits and certain situations could drift it off, and it's not your fault. It's not their fault. It is what it is. Like you know what I mean. And it showed me what errors I was doing before. And even those errors seemed like it was okay, you didn't realize how much was affecting on both sides, or just you as an individual, I think you could love someone else, but if you worship them, you already like missing the page. Because my thing is that if you start worshiping them, then that means you push him to the side.
Yeah.
I think that specifically is what I learned, and definitely saw why that affected me. And I'm talking about like neglect, like you praying for this person, oh, let me have this person, this and that, and God answers. God will answer you. Hey, God answers your prayers. It's funny too. Like he's all right, you want this person, I'm gonna give it to you. But then once you get that person, besides loving them, but you start worshiping them, you miss seeing flags. Even when you're getting cut, God will see your stains. Like you're getting cut, you're getting burnt, but then you don't even notice that because you're worshiping that person. You're putting God to the side. You pray less because you're with that person, because you think your prayer's already been answered.
Wow.
And that's the only thing that I think I found is that don't worship a human. That was messed up, but yeah, don't worship a human. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy though too. Cause I could be hard on myself, like, oh, I'm a sinner, this and that, and then I'm like, yo, Jesus was tempted as much as we are, and I'm like, I don't know how he did it, but it's foolish of me to make that comparison though. Like, why are you comparing? You're comparing yourself to him, like to Jesus. Like, you can't compare yourself to Jesus. You're full on flesh.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I just feel like when you're trying to put the standards to great, I'm like, you're forgetting that the bar is really just good. Like, you're doing too much. So I think that's what it was. It's like I gotta start if I want to worship somebody, I'm gonna worship myself, if anything. And the best way to worship myself is see how much I can learn about him. At the end of the day, he made me. So let me know how I was made. So I think that was the main thing about me. That's the reason why I started praying a bit more and trying to. And it's so awkward reading. Like, me personally, for me, it's awkward to read the Bible sometimes. Like, I started at Genesis. I'm all the way up to Samuel. And then, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, I was thinking, I was like, hold on. And I'm like, this place could blow up at any time. Like, Judgment Day, he could come tomorrow. And I'm like, I'm over here laddygagging on the beginning. I'm like, I never really fully read Matthew. I never really fully read Hebrews. Why, like, I'm going 1, 2, and 3, but I'm like, why don't, like, I just go a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I think that was kind of helping me learn more a bit now, too. Because I always felt like you got to go to chapter 1, chapter 2 to understand chapter 10.
Yeah.
But I started learning that, like, the Bible's really not really set up that way. If you want to correct me or whatever.
No, that's
it's not really in order. It's really like, it's kind of scattered still.
There's a lot of value in
it's not
around.
And it's like it's like a story and then messages, and it's like a history book. It's like history like numbers, like that's a stat man, yeah. So it's like it's very, me getting really new to it. I'm very, very new. I'm a baby Bible reader, I guess.
A baby Bible reader.
Yeah, so I'm still learning on it.
Man, and there's grace for that. Like the fact that you are committed to prayer now, and committed to reading, and committed to learning and growing is a lot more than a lot of people who have been in church all their life. Right? It's a process, bro.
Yeah.
And you got to give yourself grace for that. Like, you don't have to say, well, I'm new at this, blah, blah, like, yeah, you could say that, but you don't have to. Right? You can say it if you want to. You could say, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel obligated to say things because it's like we don't want people to think that we think too highly of ourselves or too low of ourselves, in a sense. But at the same time, it's like, take a second to think about it. God is drawing you into deeper relationship. Yeah. I firmly believe that. God is drawing you into a deeper relationship. Since I've met you, all the conversations that we've had, it's clear to me that God keeps drawing you, and life gets tough sometimes. And you've probably had your fair share of trials since then, since we met.
And just you saying the word drawing, like, I don't know, I just picture in my head, like, I just feel like, and it's crazy. I feel like let's say this is a portrait. I feel like God, when he draws or paints you, I feel like puts you in. He makes you look real handsome. Very pretty, right? Like a rose, like a flower. A goddess, if anything, like, you know. So it's something very beautiful, right? And then like around it, he had to place his thorns. And I feel like when drawing, I don't know why, when you just said drawing me specific, I just felt like I could just see him drawing me, you know, me with a $1 million suit, who knows? But then, like $1 million suit, but then around me there's just struggle, challenges, and thorns. I just wanted to share that real quick, but I think that's how he draws us, in a sense of like he wants you to shine, and he's going to protect you from this.
It'll surround you, but it won't touch you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna get that tatted on me.
It's a process, bro. It's a process of us as we get to know, or as we get into deeper relationship with God. There's, as much as we learn, there's always way more to learn. There's always way more that we don't understand. No matter how much we understand, there's always way more that we don't. There's always so much more that God is doing and teaching and flowing and growing with us. And that's why I say, like, it's a process, and it's an honor and a gift for you to share a little bit about your life, your struggles, where you are personally. And it's my hope that you continue to go down this process of pursuing God, whether you feel like you're worthy or not, whether you feel like you want to say, why me? He's going to keep saying, why not you? And for everybody that's listening, everybody who is here still at this point, as we wrap up a little bit, you might be thinking, why me? You might not even believe that God loves you. You might believe that you're never going to be worthy of love. You might believe that all of the insecurities you have are far too great. They're far too big for the things that you would like to accomplish in your life. But the reality is that God has a plan for you. And the fact that he made a plan for you means you're worthy of a plan. God is not a waster of time. So if you were a waste of time, he wouldn't waste his time in making a plan for you.
Sure.
And the fact that he did, it tells us that there is value in you. You might think, why me? God says, why not you? Listen, I want to thank you guys for being here today. I will have Moses' information in that area where all the letters are, you know. So if you guys want to follow him on social media, give him a follow. If you are in the New Jersey area and you need a personal trainer, especially one that is gifted as far as helping you to move in your body well, this is a great guy to hit up. You know, listen, I'm serious. I have personally had sessions with him, and they've blessed me. And I'd like for us to pray. I just feel led to pray. I want us to end with a prayer, because I'm just thinking of people who might be in a similar situation, that have the potential to do something for God that maybe doesn't necessarily have to do with ministry, but maybe they're questioning themselves. Maybe they feel that why me a lot stronger than you do, because it seems like you've been able to get past that. But they feel a lot stronger than you do, and so they're letting that hold them back. And maybe you're letting it hold you back a little bit too.
A little bit, but I am. Yeah.
So I'm gonna pray real quick, and we'll end with that. You have anything you want to say before we end up?
Anybody's going through some tough times, you know, feel free to DM me if you want to talk to somebody. But overall, thank you so much for you guys listening to us talk. And I'm probably definitely gonna do another episode with this man. So listen to this dude. It's crazy how this whole thing even happened because, like, bro, we're talking about, I knew a friend that knew Chino, and then Chino met me with you.
Yeah.
Another shout out to Chino.
Chino's that dude.
I love that man, bro. And then even when we're talking about like martial arts and that's on episode 2. That's on episode 2. I will talk more about that next time I come back. But overall, thank you for your time. Thank you guys for watching.
All right, let's pray, guys. Lord, I just want to lift up anybody who might be in a season of doubting themselves, Father. They feel like they aren't worthy of God. They aren't worthy of His love. They aren't worthy of His presence, God. I pray, Lord, that you would draw them and pull them out of that, Father. That you would help them to see just how much you love them, to see just how much you have a plan and a purpose for them. Excuse me. Lord, I pray that you would lift up their hearts, lift up their souls, lift up their spirit, Father, so that they would be able to realize how much you've invested in them, how much you care for them, and how deeply you love them, Father. That realization, Father, will propel them forward into being able to believe in the plan and the call and the purpose that you have for their life. I praise you and I worship you, Father, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you guys for being here. We will see you guys, hopefully, God willing, for another episode next week. Thank you for your time. Make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with somebody that you feel would be blessed by it. God bless you guys. Have a great week. Peace.